countries, live streamed on social media, and broadcast on DBTV. Christoph Trapp chats with industry leaders to help your company tell better business stories. Here's today's episode.
Episode 686, my friends. Welcome back. We are live on Amazon. So everything around me, everything you can buy on Amazon. The sound panels, the fake plants, the commander's helmet. Not that Iowa helmet. That's game worn, by the way, many moons ago. Also, really quickly, the new rules of marketing and PR by David Meerman Scott. I would recommend that you guys take a look at that because I'm quoted in it. He is one of the original OGs when it comes to inbound marketing. So definitely an honor to be listed in his book. But today we want to talk about some of the crap that companies pull that make it extremely difficult to work with them, which is crazy because everybody wants to make money and they're making it so difficult. So ridiculously easy to do business with. David Avrin, his book is a fantastic read. I would highly recommend it. He's joining me on the show today. And we're going to be talking about why companies do what they do. Why don't they make it easier? So let's dive in. David, if I can interrupt your reading break.
Hey. Blow it up, make it rain.
I have not done that before. Make it, blow it up, make it rain.
Make it rain. Learn that from my kids.
Goodness.
Just saying.
Oh my goodness. You're something else. I mean, showman at the heart. That's awesome. But you already brought the sizzle. Let's bring the steak for a minute. What is going on here with, why did you have to even write this book? I mean, doesn't everybody want to make money? Like, I don't make it difficult for people to pay me. Why do companies do some of the crap that they do?
It's kind of mind-boggling, isn't it? I wrote the book because first I speak for a living. So I'm a keynote speaker. I'm a consultant on customer experience as I think a more meaningful differentiation. I think it's today, customer experience is the new marketing. How we do business, how companies do business with us. And to answer your question in terms of why they make it difficult, I don't think anybody intentionally does. I think everybody's working hard. I have such great respect for people in business, people who are running businesses, small, medium businesses, others. Everybody's just slogging away every day trying to do the best they can. The problem is the way we used to do business. And when I say used to do business, I'm talking 5-10 years ago. All of that is different. We're in a new generation of conveniences that are really astonishing. And organizations, companies, small businesses, and others that are less convenient or inconvenient we have an aversion to. There's no reason to make us wait when it doesn't seem like we should wait. Some of the frustration, and we can talk about some of those points of contact. When you make it very difficult to cancel a subscription, right? When you make it very difficult to reach a real person. How often are we on the phone or on the computer, just like literally yelling like real person, agent. I think you said no. Just this crazy frustration because companies are trying to find a way to save costs, to offload to AI. And what's happening in the meantime is that we as customers, and we're all customers, even if you're in business, we're all customers or clients of somebody else. We have less tolerance. We're getting frustrated very, very quickly. If some company tells us that they can't tell us where the product is, say, well, Amazon can, Uber can. I can see exactly where the driver is. He's turning on this street. Why can't you? So it is a great time to be a customer. The amount of conveniences and accommodations are really astonishing. It's a really tough time to be in business.
It is, but it's also not, right? I mean, let's think about that for a second. So I have a really good example, I think, that shows both sides of the coin, and certainly the one part is government, but we're moving into a new home, and it's in one city, and the Postal Service, when they drew the map in 1963, put it into a different city. So the mailing address is a complete mess, right? And now we have to get a mailbox. So guess what I did? I said, okay, what kind of mailbox should we get, dear builders? And they said, get a mailbox here. I literally went to Menards, clicked on the mailbox. I'm like, how's that one look? Good. I just got the text. It's ready for the carrier. It will be on the way. How much easier could it be, right? Like, I'm done with it. I don't have to go to Menards. I don't have to stand in line. I have to do nothing. I got what I needed. It seemed very, very easy. But Menards probably put a lot of thought into that whole
Yeah,
workflow is
well,
my
one of the
guess.
biggest challenges is we do business the way we do business because it works and it's always worked. So why not do it the same way? Well, ask the people at Toys R Us or ask the people at Blockbuster. The reality is we've changed customer expectations for access and immediacy and flexibility and of course convenience has changed tremendously. So if I work and I consult with organizations to help them smooth that out, to help them become ridiculously easy to do business with, is part of the process is literally walking that customer journey. And at every point of contact, asking that question, is that the way it should be done? I mean, it's the way you do it, and it probably works. It's the way the industry's always done it, but could it be done faster or more simply? I mean, can we simplify the process? We as customers are getting frustrated very, very quickly. I ask audiences this all the time. I say, anybody notice that your customers or clients are a little less patient or a little more easily frustrated? And of course, the look on their face is like, welcome to my life. Well, it's true. And we all are. So I think to answer your question, and I think the Menards example is a good one, is when you take a step back and say, what are we all expecting as customers now in terms of not just quality and commitment and caring and trust in people, the thing that everybody talks about, but in terms of how fast can we access what we need? Can we see visibility into the process? One of the things I talk about that is going to be absolutely expected across the board, regardless of your industry, is some measure of visibility into the process. You shouldn't have to call a company and ask the status of your order. I mean, this is a big change and it's happened fairly recently, but everybody's going to need to adopt this. We should be able to, at 2:00 in the morning, log in, click on the app or whatever, and see the status. Has it shipped? Is it in process? Is it ready for pickup? Is it ready for delivery? Whatever that might be. And I think it's also a way for larger companies to be able to offload so many of the questions that come into their call centers and others, which is just a simple, what's the status? If somebody's calling you and asking what the status of their order or their project or their consulting gig, you're already behind the 8 ball because they've had to call you to find out what's going on. Now, 20 years ago, this wasn't true at all, but today, and especially tomorrow, it is. So there's so many points of contact along the way that we have to ask the question, not just are we good at this? Because there's an expectation everybody's good today, right? Because if you weren't, you'd be outed on Yelp or TripAdvisor, Rotten Tomatoes, or Glassdoor. It's not about quality anymore. Today, we assume quality. Now, who's the most responsive? Who can get back to us quicker? How easy can we get answers or order or pay? I mean, there's companies all the time. I get asked by clients, do you take Zelle? Do you take Venmo? Do you take PayPal? I mean, the answer is yes. Yes. What's the next question? I mean, my God, they're trying to pay me. The answer is yes. And we still get companies who are very rigid. Here's how you contract with us. Here's how you pay us. And because it works for them. But the reality is we have choices. We have so many choices. And if you become difficult to work with, if there is what we perceive to be an unreasonable delay, we'll just go somewhere else for one reason, because we can. And so, I mean, I could talk about this forever. Of course, I do this for a living, but there's so many points along the way that we can be better, be easier to do business with, become ridiculously easy to do business.
You know what's interesting about the Venmo example? So I got a invoice the other day from my attorney, and I was like, okay, I wasn't in town or something, and I'm like, oh, how do I get a check to him? It drives me crazy when people take forever to pay, right? So I also try to reciprocate and just pay people the second I get the invoice. And I read the thing at the bottom. It says you can pay through PayPal, Venmo, blah blah blah. I don't know if it's a Cash App or not, but check, whatever, not cash. Don't drop off cash, please. I don't think it said cash. But my point is, I was like, interesting. So I'll just do PayPal. But it didn't say anything like, but if you pay PayPal, there's a 3% extra charge. Like I had a guy over the other day, and they were like, I'm like, how do I pay? And he goes, cash or credit card. I'm like, I'll do credit card. He goes, oh, there's a 3% charge. I'm like, just build the 3% charge into your thing. Right. And so you don't have to have this, like, just that experience to keep saying there's a 3% charge. It just makes it feel less good, right?
Even more so because others don't do it, right? I think you make a really good point is we have to have a really good sense of what the marketplace looks like. For the first time ever, I think we're all competing against Amazon, right? We always had to be one of the best in our category, especially if we were going to charge a premium price or fee for what we do. Today, we're all being compared against Amazon, fair or not, we are. And they sort of originated the whole idea of just the one click and it's done. The biometric, we are, and even more so that this will accelerate, we are our own password, right? Biometrically, our thumbprint, our retinal scan, or whatever that might be, clear at the airport. So those kinds of points that, I understand there's a hard cost. So you're right, build it in. And some of the conversations that I have with clients are pushback on those kinds of things, which is, we've got to be able to absorb that cost. You're right, you do. So let's figure out how to do that. Or the other one that I think is a huge issue is the one of being accommodating for unique scenarios. Because somebody was asking me, I was on another podcast, and they said, how could the whole idea of service, if we've been talking about this for 50 years, how could it be getting worse? And I said, well, first of all, it is getting worse. And I'll tell you why. And it's probably not the reason that you would think, is that we've become less flexible because we're trying to, speaking to those in business, we're trying to have some level of predictability in our process and our customer journey, and how are they going to find us and research and communicate and buy and pay and deliver and whatever that is. Because if we can predict that and regulate that, or create a path that makes it easy for them to do it, then we have a greater sense of predictability of their behavior and purchases and cash flow, and we can budget for that. The problem is, as customers, we haven't read your employee manual. We don't know how we're supposed to do it. And there's so many unique scenarios that we bring to the table, but that runs counter to what businesses want. They want a predictable process, and customers want flexible policies, and they run afoul of each other. And so what ends up happening is that we end up becoming, we see companies as being rigid. We're talking to the proverbial brick wall, or we get, this is the worst, and I talk about this in the book as well, we get scripted empathy. And I understand why, and it's call centers, and I'll call and I'll be frustrated with something with my, my cable or my internet, and they'll say, I understand, Mr. Avrin, how frustrating that must be. So and I say, no, don't read the script. So here's my issue. And yes, Mr. Avrin, I understand. And I said, no, don't read the script. Don't read the script. So just listen. And they can't, because the companies are trying so hard to control exactly how it's done. And what you take away is the flexibility of making customers happy. And I'll give you, this is a storytelling podcast, right? Okay, here's the story. This is a true story. It was 7:00 in the morning. I'm leaving a hotel, and I had a presentation that morning, and I got done about noon. I stopped at the front desk and I said, I'm in room 226 or whatever. I need to do a late checkout, please. And I start walking away, and I said, oh, whoa, I'm so sorry. We can't do any late checkouts today. I said, well, yikes, I'm leaving right now. I'm speaking. Yeah, she goes, yeah, we have a conference coming in, and my manager said we can't do any late checkouts. We got to get ready for the conference. I said, well, I literally can't. I speak until noon, but I can be back by 12:30. She goes, no, you have to be out by noon. I said, well, I can't. And then this is what she says, honest to God true, which is, well, if you can't be out by noon, we're going to have to charge you for a second day. And then she gives me the yikes face, like, yikes, sorry. And so I look at her, because I teach this, and I said, okay, I understand. But if you're going to charge me for a second day, I'm just going to keep the room. If I pay for it, I have the legal right to keep it. So I'll just keep the room and not check out. But now you don't have a room for that conference attendee who is flying in. Is that the outcome you were looking for? And she's like, goes in the back room, comes back, 1:00 would be fine. You think? No, here's the truth though, Christoph. She wanted to say yes to me, but her manager was lazy. He said, treat everybody the same, right? And here's the pushback. When I tell a story like that, and I talk to my clients or my audiences, the pushback I get is, well, if we do it for you, we have to do it for everyone. And I just smile, and I look back and I say, no, you don't. You don't have to do anything. It's your business. First of all, not everybody's going to ask for an accommodation. If you can do it, do it. Why wouldn't you? This false notion, well, if we do it for one person, we have to do it for, you do whatever you want. It's your business. Doesn't mean other people get a lower level of service, but if there's a unique scenario and you can accommodate somebody, who loves that? Customers. Customers love that. But we have to be able to empower our front line, but we're getting rigid And the more rigid a company gets trying to control the process, the more frustrated we get as customers. And what do? We leave.
You know what's interesting about that? First of all, it is kind of a lazy by whoever the manager
So
is. But
lazy.
also, they're thinking, "Oh, how do we get some more money out of them?" But they're actually not getting more money, because if they charge you for the second day, and depending on who paid for the room, maybe it was a completely different rate. Maybe they actually lost money, right? Because they were trying to think about something
Well,
silly like that at the moment.
and they piss me off. I mean, what do you think my next behavior is going to be? A good one? Probably not.
Probably not. So the other thing, not to keep picking on the Postal Service here, but we will. The Postal Service was trying to explain to me that here's what a mailing address is. And I said, thank you for explaining to me what a mailing address is. But first of all, you don't even deliver mail there right now, because you have a mailbox a mile down the road. The only company that delivers mail there is the Amazon, right? So what's their opinion? But more importantly, I don't care what their definition of it is. What I care about is how everybody uses it, right? So if everybody uses it as a street address, it needs to line up with everything else. So how do companies fit into, I hate to say it, the zeitgeist of how people behave and how people use things, versus how some executive on in some resort on a getaway came up with an idea?
It's a great question. First of all, we call that mail splaining, but with the AI. Just saying, I just made that up. Somebody's going to register mailsplaining.com just for complaining
The
about
next time. Oh my God.
That's what I'm saying.
I will use that with the Postal Service.
Here's
100%.
the answer. Here's the answer to the question, is that we're smart people, right? I honestly believe, and I've had people ask me questions, why don't they care? Of course they care. I'm not a critic of business. I'm a counselor to business. I think they're trying to do what's right, and they're trying to create, but they have that balance, right, between predictability and profitability and customer preference. And that's the part that they often get wrong, is that they forget that they're competing in a broad competitive marketplace. We're not making decisions in a vacuum. With the exception of the post office, we don't have a whole lot of choices. But with most businesses, we have lots of choices. We're not deciding whether to do business with you. We have a need. We have a want. We have, right, whatever that might be. And we have a lot of choices. And so when you talk about sort of the management or the ivory tower making these decisions, they think they're making very smart decisions. I mean, if the decisions are just being made by the bean counters, then they just fire everybody and just make everything self-checkout. But what they forget is the law of diminishing return. At some point, we'll get so frustrated that we're just going to go elsewhere. And so the solution is what we call customer centricity, right? We have historically been product centric, and product centric means we're very good at what we do. We're very good, and we sell it to as many people as possible, whatever it is, and that creates market share. That's how business has been done for thousands of years. There's nothing wrong with it. I am an unapologetic, compassionate capitalist. The problem is when we are product centric, we understand our audience, we try and sell as much as we can. We tend to say the same things. We talk about quality and commitment and caring and trust in people, and everybody says the same things. And when everybody's good, and we assume everybody's good, we just look for the lowest price, or it's price or proximity, whoever's the cheapest, whoever's the closest. Here's the opportunity, is we're seeing it more and more, companies really getting this. They're moving from product centric to customer centric. And to clarify, customer centric does not mean customer focused. We're all customer focused, right? For us, it's about the customer. Yeah, we get that. Customer centricity means something different. It means, A, we're very good at what we do. We don't take our eye off the prize, but we are committed to being better than our competitors at understanding the changing wants, needs, and expectations of our customers. We understand them deeper so we can deliver not only what they want, but how they want it, which is the tagline for the book, which is a practical guide to giving customers what they want, how, and when they want it. Not unprofitably. I'm not naive about the realities of business. Customers don't get everything that they want. But if we have an opportunity to really understand what their real drivers are for purchases, I think we have an opportunity to make those tweaks in our business. How we do it, what kind of availability, what is our responsiveness? How simple are our contracts? I mean, in the book, I go through 26, I think, different ways that we inadvertently are frustrating our customers and clients. How do we simplify What are some of the things that you wouldn't? There's some obvious ones, of course, is being easy to get a hold of, easy to resolve issues. Those things are very important. But there's other stuff that you don't really think about. I have a whole chapter on being ridiculously easy to see. I'm 60 years old, and I know what you're thinking. He cannot be 60 years old, right? But there's so many marketing materials that are just, I can't read business cards. I can't read menus anymore because they're so tiny, because they're all designed by people in their 30s, and most of their revenue comes from people over 50.
So is that, I was going to ask you about that really quickly, but like for 1 minute, why, like, talk about that, ridiculously easy to see. And we have, of course, the printed stuff, and we also have, I mean, even digital, right? When you go on websites, I mean, the
Oh yeah.
accessibility issue is crazy, right? Gray text on gray background. Like, who would have ever thought in their right mind that wouldn't work, that people can't see that? I don't know. I mean, it seems like common sense to me, but
Well,
why is that an issue?
Well, it's an issue because, well, in a couple of different ways. The world changed, of course, because of the pandemic. It became very easy for restaurants, for example, to just use a QR code, right? You didn't have to touch menus. Nobody was spreading germs. Well, they became very enamored with the idea of the QR code. We don't have to print menus. We can change them anytime we want. And it works really, really well for them. And so I'll go in there with a group of people and say, do you guys have menus, like actual menus? Oh, no, just scan the QR code. I said, well, I'm 60 years old. I can't read this on my phone. When they said, well, that's all. I said, you don't even have an option. And the 23-year-old kind of looks at you and shrugs. It's a perfect example of businesses doing what they think is right, but they forget to be customer centric, which means put yourself in their shoes. Most marketing materials are designed by people in their 30s, maybe 40s. Business cards, menus, it's form over function. But the vast majority of revenue, and I have statistics on that in the book, are people over 50. And so there's a disconnect, but there's no malicious intent. It's just being naive. And so my job as the messenger is to point out all of these points of contact. You can do what you want. It's your business. But I'm going to tell you the things that will make you not just qualified, not just competent, not just compliant if you're in one of those industries, but preferable. The key is, in a competitive marketplace, are you not just good, are you preferable over the other choices?
You have to understand your customers, and certainly, I mean, we talk about that quite often, and put yourself in their shoes. And sometimes it is, I hate to say it, it is common sense, but somebody has to fix it, somebody in the right places. Certainly the frontline staff is not going to fix some crappy process that somebody dreamt up while they were sitting on the beach at some retreat. David, it was great to have you on the show. Really quickly, 60 seconds or so, tell us, how do people connect with you? Who should reach out to you? Who do you work with? That kind of thing.
Absolutely. It's easy to find me online. It's just David Avrin, Avrin. You can go to the website, has my information. I respond to all my emails. It's just David at David Avrin. On social media, I'm everywhere. In most places, it's the real David Avrin, because there's hundreds of fake accounts. That's a whole catfish for another day. As long as you see lots of followers and connections, it's the real me. But I speak for a living. I consult, and I'm really excited about the new book. The audio version, I think, comes out in the next week or so, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk. I'm really passionate about this. I'm on a mission, and I'm fortunate. I've spoken to 26 countries around the world, and I'm all across Europe and Australia this fall, and fortunate to do what I do.
Fantastic. Thanks for blowing it up. Thanks for making it rain. Nice to see you, and we're out.
Thanks for tuning in. Please rate and review the Business Storytelling Show on your favorite podcast platform, and subscribe so you don't miss the next